So here's a question for you. What makes a portrait dramatic? Obviously there is amazing styling, but there's also lighting and perhaps, wait for it, color of light as well. And today I'm going to play with both the lighting and the color of light and its direction to create a really dramatic, cinematic looking portrait. And that means, yes, stick around to the end because there will be some smoke. To help me out today, I've got the amazing Rob. Rob's going to be the model for this photo session, and as you can see, he's taking care of the styling. My job is the lighting, and I'm going to be using LED RGB lights for this setup, which means the first thing I actually have to do is to get rid of the room lights like this. Once the ambient light is down, the LED lights will become a lot more obvious and a lot easier to work with. Before we get to any colourful light, let's start with white light and the direction of the light, because it might be tempting just to put the light directly in front of Rob, and I'm going to get an okay picture. Let's just take a test photo, make sure all of this works. I'm in manual mode, I've set a custom white balance, and I get a perfectly okay, flat, boring picture. And by flat, I mean the light is landing flat on the front of his face. So to get a bit more drama in the picture, one of the easiest things to do is just get your key light, that's the light that is lighting your subject's face, and put it to the side. I'll need to adjust my exposure because the light is closer to Rob, but the picture looks so much more dramatic. And that really is because of the shadows. We can still see Rob is lit in the face, but now part of his face is in shade, part of his face is brighter, and the background, well, that's a little bit darker too. So if it was more dramatic lighting with a light at the side, imagine how much more drama I would get if I get the same light and push it actually slightly behind Rob. And now we've got shadows, and shadows add mystery to your picture. And mystery, well, that's another way of getting drama. Good as that is, there are actually a couple of things I'd like to fix. One of them is the fact I can actually see the softbox in the corner of the frame. Now I could take that out in Photoshop, or I could actually just rotate this softbox around. That will remove it from the corner of my frame and save me a little bit of time in post-production. And then there is the background. Now I actually don't mind that graduated effect on the background, but I could feather the light to control the background a bit more. And what is feathering the light? It's just another way of saying turning it, to be honest. So if I turn the light away from the background, because I'm using LED continuous light, I can actually see it happen in real time. But here's what it looks like in a photo. The background becomes more even in tone with the feathered light, but also a little bit darker, which makes sense because the light isn't pointing at it anymore. And then there is the light on Rob. Now I really like that super moody look, but we are lacking any light in Rob's eyes. I'll get to a second light in a minute, but there's a really simple fix. Rob, can you just turn and look towards the side? And we'll have a very dramatic portrait. So the direction you put your light does make a big difference to the drama, but something we never really think about, particularly if you're using flash, is the color, because white is the default color we use most of the time. But if you've got an RGB LED light like I've got here, then you can have color simply by going into the app or moving around to the back and just choosing a color. So yeah, red, let's have a look at that. Or maybe we want to try green, or maybe blue. All of these colors and more are available to you, but they do all have a slightly different feel. For example, red light gives a real intensity, almost a feeling of danger in your portraits. Green, on the other hand, well, that's much more of an eerie, sinister look. And then the blue version, well, that's more cold and mysterious. Each color tells its own story. Easy as it is to change the color with an RGB LED light, there is a bit of a downside you should be aware of, and that is the difference in exposure. Now on white versus, let's say for example, the red exposure, there is a noticeable shift. The red is not as bright as the white appeared at exactly the same power setting, 50% on both white and red, and the same camera settings. And that's because of how these lights work. We're not going to get bogged down with the technology. All you need to know is if you're going to switch from white light to colored light, remember to increase your brightness of that colored light a little bit. And also, don't trust your camera's light meter, because these things are designed to work with white lights, a full range of color. And the minute you limit that to just one color, the meter is very much a, well, more of a guideline. So if color adds more drama, then more color means more drama, I guess, but it doesn't have to be the same color. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a second light into the scene, and I'm going to do opposites. So it's going to go on the opposite side to the key light, and also I'm going to change the color so it's the opposite color, more or less. So a red color, well, the opposite of that is almost, and close enough, a blue color. That should add some real drama to the scene with color. Let's see how it looks in the photos. Now I might need to adjust the brightness and color a little bit, but as a test photo, here's how this looks. Okay, Rob, here we go, quick little test photo. And straight away you can see how this is working. We've got that red edge light and the blue fill light. I think the blue is a little bit intense, so I'm going to drop it down a little in brightness. There's no right or wrong here, it very much is a personal preference. So I've taken it down to about 20% from 50%. So that is just over a stop less bright, and that makes the red just a little bit more dominating in color. Once again, we can control the look of this a little bit by changing a few things. For example, Rob, can you turn towards the side for me? Because we're trying to do dramatic and slightly cinematic looking images, your model doesn't have to look at the camera. Just think about the last time you watched a film. Nobody looks at the camera. They don't have to in the photos either. Much as I like the blue background, I'm thinking I'm going to switch it out for a black background, and there's some logic to it. Stay tuned. This is a pop-up black background, and that one change is going to make a huge difference to how this appears, because the first thing it does is it intensifies the red and blue color, because now there's not going to be any distracting wall behind that's a matching color. It's going to be blue or red. And, well, have a look, it's going to do this. Suddenly everything feels a lot more graphic than it did before. The shadows seem darker, the drama seems more, but in fact all we've done is a change of background tone. With a black background, I actually want to do more than just leave it black. The reason it's here is because if you're going to use smoke, the best background you can have is black, because white smoke, black background, high contrast, loads of drama. So I've got another light back here. This is another one of the Godox lights. This is the little battery powered ML100, and I'm going to put it really low, like 5%. It doesn't need a huge amount because this light is unmodified and pointing straight at the camera. But what we do need is some smoke. So let's get a bit of smoke into the scene. We don't want to add too much because once it's in the scene, it's very hard to remove, so that should be more than enough. And I'll take a test photo like this. Here we go, Rob. And straight away, we can see that that adds that next level of drama. The only downside is the smoke color doesn't really match the color on Rob. But I've got a fix for that, because I've stuck together a couple of gels that tie in with the red blue that I've rather enjoyed using, and I've got a reflector for that light, and I'm going to stick the gels to the light in the same order that they are, yeah, red and blue. And then it's not going to be perfect because it's quite close to the light source, but it should take this single color light and turn it into, well, not an RGB, but certainly a red and a blue, an R&B light. Yeah, we've gone musical. Let's add a little bit more smoke in the scene and test that. And with a bit of tweaking, this is going to look fantastic. So I think we should take a few photos like this. Rob, are you ready? Here we go. Let's get some more smoke. That's what we need, really. The gels on the background light do act like a pair of sunglasses, so to compensate, I've increased the power of that light from 5% to a whopping 10%, which is actually one more stop of light. drama to your photos is a little bit about breaking the rules of photography, but if you're going to break rules, then break them big. So lots of color, lots of contrast, and of course, plenty of smoke. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, go down below, leave us a comment and give this video a thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't already done so, and I suspect you have, then you should definitely be clicking on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.